Hello and welcome to the Nicole Mason Show, the show where we bring phenomenal women who are trailblazers, women who are movers and shakers in their own respective industries, women who just in all essence just have it going on. I'm excited today to bring to the Nicole Mason Show a dear friend, powerful woman of God, extraordinary businesswoman, Cassandra Ferguson. Let me read a little bit of her bio. It is extensive, so I want to read just a little bit so you know the powerful woman that we have with us today. As the world embraces the new and looks for answers, Cassandra Ferguson, Chief Executive Officer and visionary of a new, innovative, and state-of-the-art corporate marketplace ministry, is ecstatic to announce the launch of Elevation Global Media Group and its subsidiary branches. Elevation Global Media Group will be a pioneering media organization that connects visionary leaders and world changers globally through radio, podcasts, television, and print. Even with the changes and shifting during the COVID-19 pandemic, Cassandra was still able to birth this unique and extraordinary vision. Operating in the studios of Radio 1 in Baltimore for 4 years, Cassandra realized that now would be the perfect time to transition. This led to the birth of Maintain Mondays, which was used to transition Elevate Your Life Radio to online via Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Ferguson took a leap of faith and acquired a studio office space in one of Maryland's elite business districts and was about to begin renovation, but that was temporarily halted by COVID-19. Although some may look at this as a setback, she looks at it as a time of preparation, and we are certainly going to talk about that. Listen, the mandate on Cassandra's life is to empower and equip generational leaders for their kingdom assignment by being the voice of truth. She has been married to Antonio Ferguson for 32 years and is the mother of 4 and grandma of 1. Cassandra is a proven business strategist and 21st century innovator. Welcome, Cassandra, to the Nicole Mason Show. I'm so excited to have you.
Well, thank you, Nicole. And I just feel the love. And I'm telling you, as you were reading that bio, I was on fire. I said, woo, come on, girl, do it.
Yes. Isn't that amazing, though, when you are being interviewed and people begin to read your bio? Sometimes you have the thought, who is that? And you really have to take the time to step back and really to give yourself kudos for your accomplishments. So I'm saying kudos to you today.
Well, thank you, Nicole. And even just recently, let's just, be honest, we're just beginning to come out. So let's just say we're just beginning to fully embrace life as a whole again and go in places. And I looked, one day I just stood in the studio and I looked and how every room was furnished, how equipment is here.
Yeah.
And I said, well, God, I don't know how it was done but you.
Yeah.
But you. Because I cannot take the credit. Now, I'm just a vessel because God uses willing vessels, right? Yeah. I'm just a vessel that was willing to say yes to God. And then you see, as you're saying yes to God, that everything that you need and every person that you need has already been set in motion to come to meet you at that place.
Yeah, that's powerful. And I really want to encourage women who may be listening, anybody really, women, men, but particularly women who may be listening, standing on the sideline that has an idea, a vision in their hearts, but just trying to figure out, where do I start? How do I go forward? Talk a little bit about your own journey and how you moved from your radio show with Radio 1 to saying, you know what? I can do this myself and really taking that leap of faith. Talk a little bit about that journey.
Well, actually, we could take it back 13 years, Nicole. I was actually preparing for an event in which I had a networking organization called BWIDM, Business Women on the Move. And I owned a mortgage company and a tax business. So during 2008, 2008, when the mortgage crisis happened, I mean, we were about to, it was about to be set off. I mean, finally get to the place where you could see an increase in your business. So I was in it for 8 years, finally getting to the place that you could see an increase in your business. And here come the mortgage crisis, right? To shut it down, right? And that took me to a dark place, let me tell you, because I was like, God, how in the world I can be here and be ready to, this is about to happen. And then the crash happened. So that took me back into corporate, but let's go back to the radio interview. The guy on the radio station said to me, it was a small radio station in Harford County. He said to me, he said, have you ever thought about radio? And I said, no. And I said it so proudly because the first thing I thought about, Nicole, was my inadequacy. I thought about, I was from the South, so I had a Southern twang, right? I felt like I couldn't pronounce my words correctly. I felt like it's no way I can have my own radio show because I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
So when God reminded me, again, going from the mortgage crisis to working for a Fortune 500 bank in which I was a top leader, and then being let go, right, from that, and got back into that dark place, the woe is me, after I finished crying and getting myself together. Now God said, hear what I'm saying, do what I've called you to do. I said, well, God, if you ever allow me the opportunity again to be on radio, I will not tell you no.
Wow.
So what happens? Freddie Gray happens, right? So when I saw all the things that were going on with Freddie Gray, I saw the young people in the street, I saw the riots and all that in Baltimore. The first thing I began to say, where are the leaders? Because what I saw was a bunch of young people that felt like they had no purpose, no potential. And I said, we need leaders to rise up to begin to speak into their future. So God said, you're the leader. He said, start a radio show, right? I was like, wow. So I called a close friend of mine that actually was in the industry. And I told her what God had told me to do. I began to express to her, like God said, do that. She said, make the call. Now, you know, Nicole, the first time, that fear and that inadequacy could keep you from making the call or taking the first step. Not only did I get one offer to be on a radio show, but I got multiple radio stations that wanted me. So after being there, I began to see, you know, from going from AM to FM within 6 months, I began to see how the hand of God was on me for this. God began to enlighten my eyes and give me vision about where he wanted to take me in the industry, because number one, I had stepped into what he had already predestined and preordained. So when all that happened, I began to see places that I wanted to go to record in our TV show, because we had Elevation Rewind. We were flying all the way down to North Carolina. And then another place wanted to take the TV show. I said, wait a minute, there's no place here in Maryland for people to bring their creative. A creative space, a place of excellence, a place where you can birth what God has put in you. So God said, you build it. He said, you build it. And I was at the hairdresser. My hairdresser was right across the way. I said, what is that? And I went and I called, made phone calls and all that. And he said, you build it, they will come. And of course, it was during COVID-19. We had no idea COVID-19 was going to come. But at that point, I could not lose heart, and I could not take my eyes off the vision and the purpose behind the vision that God had put in me.
That's so powerful. And there's so many tentacles to that. But the one thing that I really want to pick up on is the stick-to-itness of your vision, and what that really takes when you know that this is something that you're supposed to be doing, but yet there are obstacles. And I really want you to talk about the mental jumping jacks, really is what they are, that you went through to get to this place to just keep going. And I appreciate your transparency talking about the dark places that you went when there was a perceived failure, because we both know that failure is just a perspective about it. Sometimes it's, lessons learned, right? It just really is your perspective about failure and how you put it to use for yourself. So talk about mentally where you had to go to get over the dark place to come back into the light to keep going.
Right. And I'm glad you mentioned that perceived failure and those dark places in the past, because those were actually my training ground to get me mentally prepared for where God was about to take me. So we could say that me and God had history.
Yeah.
Right? We had history on him bringing me out. I may have been in one place at one moment, but then he brought me out to the place he wanted me to be. So I think that remembering where God has already brought you from and what he has already brought you through is the piece that helps keep your mental together.
Yeah.
Like, oh God, you done brought me through this. And sometimes he will even have you will have a flashback, right? Got to give you a flashback. Now, I can't believe you think I can't handle this.
Yeah.
When I done handled that. Nicole, can I give another testimony?
Absolutely.
During that time, Nicole, of that whole mortgage crisis, remember I had to shut my business down, right? So this is why I thank God, money is never an object for me, okay?
Yeah.
During that time, we had moved out of our house because we could not pay it, and we were willing to give our house back to the bank. Okay? Because the income was gone.
Yeah.
But do you know, the bank did not foreclose. They actually called us and said, come back to the house, because we moved out. Because we said, we're just going to give it back. We can't do nothing with this.
Right.
They called us back, said, come back. We want to work with you. Nicole, they cut our mortgage principal down $250K, $9K.
Wow.
That's why God said you should never stop doing anything or not go through something because of finances. Of course, during this whole COVID thing, building an office, you need money, right?
Yeah.
You need money to furnish it. You need money, to pay the bills after you get in it. But God said you are never to let money be a force to keep you from going. Because if I can do that, I can do what you need to do in Elevation Global Media Group Studios.
Yeah, that's so powerful. It's so powerful. I mean, and I know that the listeners are like, oh, I can feel that, because I feel that. And I know that there are so many people who have testimonies where God has come through for them. I think about my own life. I think about going, I was in divinity school and needed some money to finish paying for school, and didn't know where I was going to get it from. And in one day, I received $20,000 in scholarships and grants in one day. And I just appreciate all of the, what I like to call faith files and holy highlights of what God has already done. That history that you talk about, it's really going back into your files and really pulling out what God has already done. And that is so extremely powerful. And I really want you to talk about how all of that informs where you are today and how you have helped other people, because I know you have this wonderful organization for young women. And I want you to talk about that and how all of what you've gone through helps you to help them.
Well, Nicole, sometimes as we also reflect back and look at the history, we also look at things that we may not have gotten as a young person. Not to discredit the older people that was in our life or to say they didn't do because my thing is this: when you know better, you do better. Yeah. And if you've been exposed to a whole nother round of truth, then that means that you can now walk in that new round of truth you've been exposed to, right? So my goal is not always to always elevate myself, but also to elevate those that are around me. So with that passion of not only making sure that I'm in the right place and my mentor is in the right place, but also making sure, hey, there's a generation behind you that's watching you. And I remember going with my son to Charleston, South Carolina, and he was applying for their football program, right? Mm-hmm. And what the coach said, this profound statement. He said, I do realize there are some of you that may not get the chance. Mm-hmm. I do realize there are some of you that are still hiding behind something, but I want to pull you out to the front. So there's always been a part of me that wanted to expose people to different things, different places, and just allow them to come into the space so they can get comfortable, so they can begin to realize who they are and their identity. So that's the part of always creating a space. And I believe that we should always do that, Nicole. I believe that we should never create a space just for us, but we should always create a space for others so they can also begin to live in their purpose, their dreams, and their desires. And we can push and we compel them to be great.
Yeah. And that reminds me of former First Lady Michelle Obama, who felt the same way as it related to the White House, that, you know, this really is the people's house, and how she would bring people in with that very same notion, you know, that this is not off limits to you because of, you know, what the world says are, you know, underrepresented characteristics, but that we all have value, we all have worth, and we should all be able to dream and dream big. And so with that, I want to ask you, you know, to share some of your vision about this awesome entity and space you've created, and what you see this doing for the community, doing for the lives of other people, and really the legacy that you are intending to leave for your family.
Well, Nicole, the first thing I want to celebrate is that we were able to give our first college media student a scholarship.
Awesome.
Able to, a historical Black college student, a scholarship in media. And that's a part of the legacy. Yeah. And that's a part of the dream, right? So when you enter into the studios, not only do I want people to feel the presence of God, and not only do I want them to feel that this is a creative space, but I want them to begin to create. So of course we have the stage, we have various areas in the studio that you can record from. We also have a podcast and a radio room that is connected to our radio station, Elevate Your Life Talk Radio. But we also have another area we're building, which is going to be a soundproof room with the glass that you could do voiceovers, you could do book audios. And also we have the green room, the relaxation room. And we also going to have the print part that's coming later. But we actually, Nicole, I'm so excited. We actually partner with ABC TV. We're going to have a TV show coming that we're going to be filming and producing in the studio in the fall. So again, allowing people not only to be a part and to be able to come, but to see that it can be done. And the legacy is for my kids is this: there's nothing that you cannot do.
Yeah.
Philippians 4:13, I can do all things through Christ who has given me the enabling power to do so. That was the scripture that we spoke over their lives when they were young, and they still speak it to this day. There's nothing you can do. And that's the purpose of not only being a media guru or a
mogul, media mogul.
Yeah. But also saying, hey, let's not forget the ones that's coming behind us. Let's reach back. If they need funding, let's get them that funding. Because I don't believe that any child that has a dream in college, they took that step to get in college. Their dream should not go forward, or their dream should stop because they don't have money.
Yeah.
That shouldn't be. If we have the ability to do it, and I do believe that God is bringing he's bringing the wealth to the righteous. I just believe that.
Yep.
And I believe that we're just, COVID was just, again, a time for preparation and a time for reimagining, and maybe some realignment too, because some people, we had to get out of alignment with some folks, right? So I just believe that we are going to be in position that when we see a need, we're going to meet it.
Yeah, that's awesome and amazing. And I know that you talk openly about being raised in a single parent household with your dad spending a lot of time during your childhood in prison.
Yeah.
So I imagine that this too really is a passion of yours as it relates to having to overcome some barriers in your own life. Mm-hmm. And really, looking back to see just what the obstacle built in you in terms of resilience and being able to be a victor and not a victim. And then subsequently being married to your husband for 32 years and him being there with your children throughout their entire lives. So talk a little bit about that and just the power of resiliency. I always say, resiliency is in our DNA.
Right. And you often hear that what don't kill you make you better.
Right? Mm-hmm.
What you go through, it's always a story at the end of what you go through. If we can only get through and get to the other side of it.
Right.
That's where the resilience comes, getting to the other side. Now, what fuels that resilience for me is faith. Mm-hmm. Right? That's what fuels my resilience. Yes, my father spent the majority of my childhood in prison. Mm-hmm. And that was probably from age 11 or 12 on up. And then he died of a crack overdose. Wow. And when I was at the age of 19. And so I was raised by a single mother that was also, when I was little, I saw she was abused. Mm-hmm. So those things, again, they were not to dictate, because some people could look at, well, she's going to turn out just like that. No, it was not to dictate how I was going to turn out based on my circumstance or situation. For me, it was fuel for me to not to be that, but allow God to do what he wanted to do. Because there was a time, Nicole, I used to think my husband would hit me. Mm-hmm. And he was like, I'm not going to hit you. Yeah. But it was what I saw. Yeah. So my mindset, and I was younger then, mm-hmm. my mindset had to be in a place that he that began the good work and you will complete it. What is the plan that God has for you? Mm-hmm. Jeremiah 29:11. The plan for I have for you are good and not evil, to take you to an expected end. So the transformation of the mind from what could have been and what is the part of resilience. Mm-hmm.
That's so powerful. And I feel myself, I'm like, let me hold myself together, because I feel the power and the spirit of our God. And, I really appreciate how we've been able to take our faith and not just talk about it, but live it. Yeah. And other people have been able to grab a hold of it, even when they were lacking in their own faith. Mm-hmm. And so I want you to talk about just, some one or two experiences where that you had to lend your faith to somebody else, lend your faith to others, even those who were a part of your vision in this Elevation Media Global Group, and bringing this vision to pass, because faith is so important.
And with the lending of the faith, you can often hear in someone's conversation, you can see in their posture when they're going through, mm-hmm. right? So one of the things that we do with the team, we do meet bi-weekly, because I believe that staying connected is important, mm-hmm. with your team members. And Nicole, I have over 20 some volunteers.
Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome.
20 some volunteers. So one of the things is I allowed them the chance to say what's going on with them, what's wrong. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Allowed them that space to talk about what's going on in their families, not just all the time talking about Elevation Global Media Group. Mm-hmm. I want to hear what's happening with you. And with doing that, of course, we come with the testimonies of what God has done. Yeah. We also come back with prayer, and we also come with a declaration. Mm-hmm. And so that's where when you set that space, again, it's about setting that atmosphere and that space up. Mm-hmm. People will gravitate to that. Yeah. They would want to stay connected to that. Mm-hmm. Because we all know that life happens.
That's correct. That's correct.
Better way to go through life than being connected to someone who knows the life source.
Yeah, that's so powerful. And you talk about declaration, how important is it for you to maintain a positive mindset when executing and implementing vision?
Well, again, whatever you think it is. Mm-hmm. So you're gonna have to talk and you're gonna have to declare. I believe, and I'm gonna say declarations. We have over 20 some declarations we created for Elevation Global Media Group. Every team member has a copy. Mm-hmm. And we said, declare these over yourself. We believe the Elevation Global Media Group will be a beacon of light. Mm-hmm. We believe the Elevation Global Media Group will meet needs. We believe Elevation Global Media Group is going to be an industry leader. We believe that Elevation Global Media Group is going to cancel the attacks and the weapons that may be formed against others. So you make that, and what happens when you begin to say that, you begin to live that. Mm-hmm. It begins to become a part of you. So I often tell people, watch what you say.
Yeah, absolutely.
Watch what you speak. Mm-hmm. Because every word has a form of life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the part of the declaration. It helps with the mindset. It helps with the motivation. It helps with keeping you aligned with the purpose. And it helps you to walk through what others cannot walk through, because you have already declared it over your life.
Yeah. That's so powerful. And I so appreciate you sharing with us some of what you all declare in your business and your ministry. And that's one of the things that I really appreciate about you. This is not just business, it's ministry for you. And so thank you so much. It always amazes me how quickly our time goes by, particularly when you're having a really good conversation. But I want you to share with the listening audience how they can reach you, find out more about you.
And I do want your listening audience to reach out. The one thing I don't want them to feel like, oh, Cassandra, I can't get to Cassandra, I can't reach out. No, I want you to go visit our website, www.elevationglobalmediagroup.com. If you have an interest of wanting to do things in the studio, there is a service and an interest form. You can also reach us directly at 443-307-1241. That is the cell number. Or if you want to send an email, info@elevationglobalmediagroup.com. And of course, we're on social media, right? Elevation Global Media Group Instagram, Elevation Global Media Group LinkedIn, Elevation Global Media Group Facebook. We're in Twitter, so you can reach us there as well. But thank you so much, Nicole. God bless you and what you're doing to impact this world and this kingdom.
Thank you. And let me just close with this. And we're going to have all of the information on our page about this amazing woman and her business. But I always like to ask my guests to just share briefly your thoughts about Show Up Great. When you hear Show Up Great, what does that mean to you?
Don't show up mediocre. Bring your best you. Mm-hmm. Show up with all that authentic you. Don't be mediocre. Do you, boo, and show up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's awesome and amazing. And I wholeheartedly concur. Thank you all so much for joining us today on the Nicole Mason Show. And Cassandra Ferguson, you are amazing. You are awesome. I pronounce blessings over you and all that you are doing, all that your global media group will bring to the kingdom, and those people who take you up on the offer to reach out, to come to the studio, to participate in that space, because I love what you say, creating the space, the right space, creates the right results. So God bless you. And thank you all so much for joining us today. We'll be back next time on the Nicole Mason Show with another powerful guest.